All right, so guys, we had to switch over to my page so that we can make sure that we got everybody in, and so that we can make sure our guest was able to get in. So just bear with us. I know my guests should be showing up here soon. We're gonna add them in as soon as we possibly can. Um, let's see here. All right, so let's see. So Pastor says, if you want to go ahead and hit that green button on the side, you should be able to go ahead and chime in. What's going on, Alex?
I wonder if they have. Oh.
There you go. Let's see. Oh, I just had you. And there we go. Turn this down. Alright, so I see you. Bear with me here. There we go. Approved.
There we go. We're going live on my husband's page. We have some guests.
You need to make sure you turn those. Hey, what's going on?
I was waiting. We had to do it on our phone, but it's good now.
Oh, that's what's up, man.
How y'all doing?
Yeah, we good, man. We are so happy to be here, man. Let me mute this real quick. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, here we go. So we just want to say thank you. If you guys didn't know who we're talking to Pastor Tez and his first lady Romay. Now I've been messing your name up
every time. Let me say it.
So please correct me, please.
It's you talk about hers or mine?
I'm talking about yours, man.
Oh, yeah. It's the Taz.
It's who?
It's Taz. Uh-oh, I think we lost you for a second there.
Uh-oh.
I think I lost you. It's froze. So we had a special Pastor Tez and their signal or what have you comes back. Right, we'll get them back in here. So today's topic is keeping it real and keeping it spicy in relationships. Yeah. Which is very important because so many times people can get complacent in relationships, and one of the biggest things that we find in especially in Christian relationships, people are so high and mighty and they feel as if they gotta act a certain way, and we're like, no, you married, the bed of marriage is undefilable.
Be who you be.
I tell people, I'm like, I pick up my bed like Christ picked up the cross, and I carry it everywhere with me. Here we go. So don't be ashamed. And this is the reason why we're doing this. All right, so we got
it was my signal. My mama always calling my phone, and I forgot to forward it. There's always call at the wrong time. Every time I'm about to do a live.
Look, hey, my mom is the same way, and my mom is just like your mom, so I totally understand. So, but what we were saying was, we appreciate you guys, and can you let everybody know what you guys' names are? Because I know I've been messing your first name and your last name up.
Well, my name is Tazaris Isom. I got a difficult first and last name, and my middle name's Dante, so I guess my mom had to add some simplicity to it. But of course, Taz works, That's what I've been
Okay.
called since I was a kid. So
And I'm just, it's
Okay.
simple. It's just, I'm just Romay.
All
That's
right.
it.
Yeah. 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 Okay. That's what's up. So, one of the biggest things that we mentioned like right as you guys got off, um, being a Christian and especially being a pastor in a pastor's life, so many times people kind of get things construed and they say that you got to act a certain way. And like I tell people, shoes, the bed of marriage is undefilable. And I even tell people like I pick up my bed like Christ picked up the cross, and I carry it everywhere with me because I love this woman. God gave her to me. And so
that's
I guess
it.
my first question is to you guys would be, how do you guys um, take your relationship and go out to the public with it as a pastor and a wife?
I always tell my church and my followers that she's not only the first lady, but she's my only lady. She's not only my mother to the children that I have, but she's my mistress. So
Right.
that adds excitement to us, and just being public, letting the world know like she's mine. I love it, man. So I say it everywhere I go.
Right.
When you really love somebody, you don't mind, articulating that to anybody.
Right.
Right. That,
Amen.
that's what's up. Um, and one of the things is we like to be transparent, and we try to help people as much as we can because nowadays it's just one of those things where we miss as Christians and as pastors and and leaders in the community, we miss the opportunity to minister to others because we try to make them see us in one light. And so that's very good that you said that.
Okay, so my question to you guys is, how do you keep the spice in your relationship? Being, a pastor and wife and all that, how do you keep the spice in your relationship?
Because those titles come off at home.
Come on.
So that's my husband. I didn't wait all. God sent him to get me. I didn't wait all this time to perform for people at my house in my home. So
Yeah, let's be like the old me would have argued.
Better example that God gives for the people is the person that he puts over his sheep. And so that was just perfect. The title has to come off when you leave the church. They
Amen.
got to be able to see you. Do you hear me?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's see.
And to even say that, man, just to go a little bit further before you ask the next question, even showing the church and the people of God like public displays of affection. I grew up in a traditional church where, if a pastor kissed his wife, that was like almost blasphemy.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Like if the pastor did more than just get a side hug to his woman, that was wrong. But I kissed my wife. I mean, of course, no French kiss or nothing like that. But I kissed my wife for the
Right.
congregation, hug her. And I'm always joking in a way just to let them know that look, I love my wife. So
Right. Right.
Right.
That's what's up. And you actually kind of already answered my second question. But what's one of the things that you love about your partner?
I love a lot, man. I don't want to talk about. I think I just would be lustful if I talked about her physical features. So I'll exclude that from the conversation. But I love her loyalty, but I love her character. I just really love. She's a down to earth girl, and she's ride or die. Like
Yeah.
she grew up on the east side at Topeka. Like I always like dropping that because I was a south sider, but she's ride or die, and I love that about her because coming from my previous relationship, I didn't have that. So to finally have a woman that was all out for me, like I was all out for her, was that's what I loved about her, and I'm rolling with her to the end.
yeah, and that on the flip side of that for me is because I grew up the way that I did. By the way, I had wonderful parents. But we grew up. I had to be a
Grew
little.
up in the hood.
Right.
God.
Ghetto, girl.
And I had to allow my husband. I had to allow my husband to cover me for real, and I just
Yeah,
love his
that's good.
patience because he allowed me so much room, and he was patient with me. And one thing about my husband is he's not patient in any other aspect,
Not at all.
but when it came to me, he was very patient, very patient. Yeah, that's you laughing. You know.
Ah, I love your transparency. I really, really do. Y'all transparent. Y'all, y'all down to earth because a
Right.
lot of, pastors and wives are kind of like uppity and you really don't know how to take them and,
Right.
you can't really have a conversation, with them or whatever. Now, our pastor and wife, they're down to earth as well.
That's
Amen.
Yeah,
good.
we're
That is
gonna,
good.
and that's what I love because when people come to church, they want to be able to know that you're approachable, that you know what I'm saying? And so that's what I love about you guys.
Yeah. Um.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you said something, Romae. You said something, about Pastor Tez. He loved you past some pain there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's big. Can you guys kind of share, not what you went through, but how that kind of looks and what you did to help her get to where she is now, Pastor Tess?
I think it was both ends. I'll let her kind of talk about mine in just a moment, but because I came from a previous marriage that had
Right.
infidelity, um, so I was broken myself. But I think my desire to want to have a successful and healthy relationship gave me the patience because I was tired. I had been tired of going through relationship after relationship after that marriage that wasn't fulfilling. So I'm like, to really make it work, I treated it like I was dating her every moment, like she was the catch that she was.
That's
Every
awesome.
moment. So when she would slam the door on me, when she wouldn't talk to me for a couple of days, when she would yell at me, like the old me would have argued, the old me we would have went off, we would have been at it. But I'm like, I really want this to work with her. So God somehow hold my tongue. God helped me partially, but the other part of me was just like, look, you got something good. Don't mess it up because you want to get back or argue. So.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
that's
So we
good.
don't do that anymore.
No, 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 no. It's history. It's history.
But I mean, that's the patient part because I have been through so much. I trusted him though. I felt his heart from the beginning. I never had any trust issues when it came to him, but I still had those anger issues from mistrust. From my past relationships. So when I would get angry about stuff, I would have to kind of go away, and he would chase me like, "No, don't let the
We're
sun
gonna
go
deal
down
with
on
this
your anger."
now.
I'm like,
I'm using
wait,
scripture and everything.
leave me alone for a minute. Leave me alone. But in the same breath, I understood, and I always reassured my husband because he was in a marriage full of infidelity, not on his part, but he stayed in it. He stuck with it. So I understood his persistence. So I wanted to always acknowledge him when I had calmed down that there's nothing that nobody can do
Yeah.
that will remove my love for you, that could take that my love away from you. There's some things that I have to work through within myself. And then me doing that, it started to kind of let the ice melt over him, which he didn't
Mm-hmm.
always have to come after me thinking that I was going to leave because I'm upset. Or thinking that, some guy is going to catch my eye because he's making me upset or he's not making me happy. It wasn't that. We
That's
just had
good.
our own issues to work through, you know. But that's the reason why God put us together because He knew that I had a piece for Him and He knew that He had a piece for me. So with God for real, it has kept us, and that's love. When the Bible says a love covers a multitude,
Mm-hmm.
it truly does. And so
Yeah.
that's where we're growing from.
That's
So
awesome.
Right.
That's awesome. So my question, okay, so in your previous is the marriage?
Hmm.
Your previous marriage, did you have children in the previous marriage?
I did. I had two. I got married when I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had 2 kids with my ex-wife. And we have
So
5 altogether now, but we definitely have a blended family. We're
yes.
a
So
blended family.
my question is, how can blended families be successful? Could you tell us how, families can be successful, being a blended?
I think it's a process, and we're still writing that book. We actually do want to write a book on that one day. I know she probably has something to say about that because she's really a good mother and caretaker. But for me, on my end, I had to look at it going in as an assignment, like Joseph with Jesus, like that. This is my assignment, and we don't use the word step in our household. That's one of the things that's been effective for us. Like,
That's how we are.
yeah, my oldest, which was her biological when I met, uh, that's my daughter, and I say it loud. Well, I don't use it now. Most people won't even like. We had a Bible study last night, and one of the people that was here said, "I didn't even know your son Tazarus Jr. was another woman's." Like,
Wow.
people can't even tell the difference because we don't show no difference. I grew up
Right.
as only child. She grew up with a house full of siblings, so we made it big. We didn't want to, we wanted people to understand this could work, and that's something that we're still living out.
Yeah. And that's no shot at their mom. Their mom is wonderful too. I grew up in a blended family, and I'm very very close to my stepmother. And we didn't use step either. But I took a few pages from her book because she never made us feel. I was 12 and she was 23, but she never made me feel like I wasn't a part of her.
That's
And
good.
so my kids, all 5 of them, they're mine. And I don't take away from their mother, but they're mine. In order for me to love them completely, they have to become mine.
Right.
Um, and it's across the board. And so, but the hardest thing with that is not the children, because we have younger. Sometimes it's harder with the older. Like our older daughter, it was harder for their relationship to kind of come to. It's great now, but she was feminine, used to being my only baby, and then she comes in being the oldest to 2 younger siblings. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to take a step back and give her room as a mom because I seen the sadness and I seen her frustrations because she didn't understand. And
Right.
I think he did a really good job at stepping in that role because he had been an only child. And so he
Mm.
covered her and he gave her the room that she
And I
needed.
didn't get offended for her not wanting to call me dad. Like, she
Right.
calls me chief. Now, we did want to make a distinction because for a long time she called me Mr. Taz. And all my nieces and nephews were calling me Mr. Taz, and her stepmother was the one that actually said, "Look, you got to figure out a name for him," and just not being offended. And the last thing is really for me, and I know she could probably say a little bit more about it. Is keeping people out, like
Oh yeah.
my mom. I mean, family members, like, because when you letting them come in trying to raise your, because my mom had an ownership over the 2 wives, because I was a single dad. After that divorce, I had them 2 by myself. So she helped me out a lot. I was 23 years old. So when I got married, she automatically has a distrust because of what my ex-wife did. So she's already, already having a stigma, like, I got to protect these kids.
Right.
So it took a long time for her to give them a role and for her to realize that, look, that's their mom. She loves them just as much as I do. So, but we had to be intentional with keeping people out because I was letting people get into my ears. She was letting people get into our ear about how to raise our family, and that was
Right.
called confusion. So,
Very much so. And I still take the advice because there's always different perspectives. But at the end of the day, we have to come together
Right.
and discuss how we're going to do things in this household.
Right.
Plant those seeds in our kids because when they go away, even when my babies is down there with their mom, it's when they call
in
me,
Kansas City, yep.
and they call me more than they call my husband, and they like, "Hey, mama," like, and miss talking to me, and
I don't even talk. They've been out there 2 weeks. I don't know. I talked to them once.
Right.
I'm like that.
it is no different. Listen, it's hard for me because we have them 24/7, so they're mine. It's still hard, but other than that, it's just really just being a mother for me. It's not. I don't make no separation. Just be a
Right.
mom. Give them what they need. Let them be individuals. I don't treat them all the same.
And don't be scared to discipline.
No.
Yeah.
That was my thing, and I'll end by that question with this. That was hard for me. I can yell and whoop my kids all day, but it was it was different coming in because she had a complete other dad, and her mom and the influence of her family. So I didn't want to come in and seem like a bad man. But
Right.
now, of course, it took about 2 or 3 years. I give every blended family at least 2 to 3 years to really start meshing because now I'll yell at her just like the other kids.
Right.
The only kids I whoop is the little ones. She's too big to get a whooping down, but I'll let if she has to. Her mom will beat her down. I won't.
Wow. That's really good, man.
That's awesome.
So it really, to be honest with you, Pastor Taz, it sounds like on both of you guys' part that you guys really put ego and yourself aside to
Yeah.
actually be able to help raise not only just the kids but raise yourselves as well.
Yes,
Um,
that part.
because I remember when you got well, I remember when Tez, I remember when you first got the call to ministry, and you were so young
I was a boy.
that we were right. I was like, man, he's young. He's gonna have, he's gonna need somebody that can really actually take him up under the wing. He's got a lot of growing up to do, and to see you become the man of God that you are now, and to see that God has blessed you with somebody that is willing to grow with you, it's really amazing. To see how you guys have not only just raised yourself, but you guys have raised a family, both on both sides, coming with him having kids and you having kids, man. It's really awesome to see. It really truly speaks to God's blessing for a family. Um, with that being said, how do you guys set us like time to date each other as well as take time to like be with your kids?
Yeah. Separate the two, like.
Being intentional. I mean, it's hard with the five we got, especially with the little one that's 10 months. My mom does. Our family does a lot of helping, but we literally try to, with before the baby came, set bi-weekly, one day out of every 2 weeks, like a Friday or Saturday, where my mom would get the kids and we go out. When we was in Texas, that her family did that for us. Now we got the 13-year-old, so she can stay at home and watch them to help us.
Yep. Yes.
But it's just being intentional, man, and it really takes you um, being super intentional. Like, look, we got to set this
Creative.
time out. Yeah, that creative too, because you can't leave the house all the time,
Yeah.
and you may not have the money all the time.
Yeah.
When I first met her, we was eating lobster dinner, and steak and all that. But when you got 5 kids, you got a family. She's a stay-at-home mom, a homemaker, so
Yeah.
it's not as easy. So look, we can have fun at home, like what I'm saying. We can have a movie night with the big screen with some popcorn.
Yep.
Right.
Get some candy for the kids from Dollar Tree right up the street. We good,
Make your own crab oil. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Right. And see, what so many people don't understand is that time, that's intimacy right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's it. Yes. That
so
right,
many people miss
exactly.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. Um, so my next question would be to you, and then I'm gonna let my wife take over. Um, what would be you guys' dream vacation, like your dream date night?
Yeah.
Date night or vacation?
Both.
Both. Yeah,
Okay.
both.
You got it.
Okay. So for me, it is with the vacation is definitely with my kids.
I don't like taking.
They have got to go. He's like, no. um, but okay, so we'll leave it out, okay. But vacation would just be for us to get time to relax, for us to really spend time to be intimate with one another, not just in the physical, but mentally and spiritually as well. Away from the hustle and bustle. Talk about a couple things. Let's get some plans down. How are we going to execute that? And then have fun. Be able to have fun. I don't care if it's in a cabin in the mountains or on the beach.
We went to Orlando, Florida a few years back, and by ourselves because we didn't have a honeymoon. When we got married, I had moved to Texas, and I had to start like the week after my job down there that we got married. So we didn't have a honeymoon. So 2 years later, we took a trip to Orlando, and man, and when you realize the intimacy is so much more than sex. I mean, we did a lot of that, but just being able to hold her down, spend that, It just
Right.
meant a lot. Walking around the beach, I'm about to drown, about to fall over, and she trying to help me, like telling me about riptides and stuff. Like, don't go too far out, you can't swim, and just being goofy. Like, because when we first met, you had that nervousness when you first meet somebody you're trying to impress. Because I'm a fast eater, like I eat super fast. So I never forget the first date we went on. I'm sitting there like the 5 second rule. After every bite, I'm gonna wait 5 seconds. But now, like, but since we grew, just to be able now, she know I scarf down food and don't give a dang. But
Like, did you taste it?
You better catch up.
Burn his mouth. I'm like, all
burning my
right.
roof. That's all.
But we're really goofy together too. Like it used to be where we, didn't you kind of let loose
A little
and
tight.
yeah, and he would go to the bathroom to poop and all this extra stuff. And yeah, now we
And
just
God fixed her when it comes to that because she would not. Like I would never know when she used the bathroom. One night we was in a hotel when we was
oh, you were really playing right
and look, let me tell you, the IHOP that we went to because it was a date night and we went to IHOP like at 2 or 3 in the morning. We get back to the hotel and they must have gave her food poisoning.
there.
In the middle of the night, I see her get up out of the bed like this and run. And I never said it to her, but later on, I'm like, you was in that bathroom for a while. I know what you was doing. That was my first time I realized, I knew that she did.
Look, hey, let me tell you, that is so crazy because one of the first, like when we first met, when we first started dating, she came to my house. We was watching a movie, getting ready to go out to eat or what have you, and she had to use the restroom. So she went in the restroom and closed the door, and whatever she did, I just next thing I heard was,
The
I,
ripple effect.
I walked by the door and I was like, good one.
Oh,
If I could
dice is
disappear,
broken.
So, can I ask you guys a question then? So, my question was, how do you? Because apparently we're all comfortable with each other. You're comfortable with your spouse. So
Right.
how did you cultivate that comfort? Because you guys seem to be very comfortable. So how did you get to that place of that?
Um, One of the things that kind of almost like what you said, I didn't want to mess this relationship up.
yeah,
So I treated her with with kids gloves sometimes, but I kind of overdid it a little bit sometimes. So now she's spoiled. So now I'm trying.
That's a good problem.
I'm still, I'm still trying to keep up with what I did when I first started.
you have to. You have
So
to.
no, but
You got to keep it up.
because I loved her past everything that she had went through, there were pain on both sides.
Yeah,
So when we first came together, everything was like so God sent. I was specific to God about everything that I wanted in a wife. And when I tell you down to a T, he blessed me with it. I'm so thankful for it
yeah.
because I could talk to her about anything. This is my best friend.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so how we were able to develop that relationship, we talked. We
Yeah,
talked.
communication is the key.
Yes.
Yes,
So
Keep
was
it
it
ma'am.
a
the
friendship
communication.
initially? Was it a
Um,
friendship initially, or was it like? Because a lot of times people get into romance and then they become friends. So
right.
what was it for you guys? Was it friendship first, then romance, or romance then friend?
It was a
It
friendship.
was a friendship, and it was almost kind of a combination of both because when we first met, everything just clicked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It it was like God was like, "This is what I gave you guys. Go ahead, go forth."
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
yeah. It was a combination of both. We just like he said, we clicked. We had fun. We went everywhere together, and everywhere we went, we had a ball. You know what I'm saying? And it was we act just alike. It's kind of scary. We act so much alike, and so he could say something, and I could finish his sentence, and that's how scary it was. And so yeah, I was like, this is it.
Right.
I didn't want nobody else. He didn't want nobody else. It was just like, this is it. And we both had this dream in the beginning of our relationship. He was like, you know what? He said, I had this crazy dream. He said that I was getting married, and when I got to the altar, when I was about to kiss my bride, I couldn't see her face. Well, 2 weeks before I had even met him, I had the same exact dream.
Wow.
And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" So he didn't, I didn't say he didn't believe me, but I called my best friend, and I was like, "Hey," I said, "You remember the dream that I told you about?" She was like, "Yeah." She said that you was about to get married, and as soon as you was about to kiss your husband, kiss him, you couldn't see his face. I said, "Yeah," and I was upset. I'm like, "Lord, let me go back into this dream. Let me just go back." And so I told him that dream, that we had the same exact dream, and so I was like, I know that's nobody but God,
Yeah.
because we had the same exact dream. I said, "Are you him?" And he's like, "Are you her?" I was like, "I don't know, but I
Yes,
know it's
yes,
God."
yes. And
And so we
and even you
still
saying that, I think that like for us, it was a quick time frame. Like we started talking in November of 14,
are.
got engaged January of 15, got married October of 15. Like,
Wow.
a lot of people, because I had just got divorced at the end of 13. So a lot of people were like, you rushed it. And what me and her talk was, look, when it's the person that God has for you, I don't want to waste no time.
Right.
We already know what it is. Why wait and just to
Why
please
wait?
people? You got to be
Right.
divorced for a couple years. No, I found the woman that my soul loveth, and we made it happen.
Right.
Listen, I said, I'm not getting no younger. We need to go ahead and make it happen.
That
You
part.
know what's so crazy? Our stories are so much similar alike.
Yes.
We dated for about a half a year. And then after we dated for about a half a year, we ended up getting married.
Yeah,
We just
Yeah.
got married in February.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It
people were
don't
like,
take
"What's the
long.
rush? Are you pregnant? What's going on?" We was like, "No, we just
We
love each
love each
other."
other.
We ain't wasting no time. Don't let me
Right.
quote Pretty Ricky.
Oh, Lord.
We ain't getting no. That's Jagged Edge. My bad. See, I'm slipping. I've been in this church too long. I don't even remember my R&B. We ain't getting no. You know what I'm saying. Let's get married.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh.
So, which brings me to another question of mine. Um, do you guys feel as if, like, when you guys go out, people hold you guys to a certain standard, and when they hold you to that certain standard, what is some of the response that you guys give them?
We enjoy each other, man. And can I be really transparent with y'all?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Can I be really
go ahead.
that transparent?
Go ahead, baby.
There used to be a time I was scared because I was a pastor in this city to even go to the liquor store. I'm not scared no more.
Okay.
Ain't none. I mean, that was when I was young. I was worried about the
Right,
religious people, what they would think. Like, me and my wife ain't getting drunk, going out doing nothing belligerent. Like, if we want to have a nice glass of wine in our house, or even, I'm a beer drinker. What's it to it?
Yeah.
Like I used to be when I was, before I exited religion, I like to say it was my exodus. Henceforth, why our ministry is named the Exodus Movement. God took me to the wilderness of tradition and wilderness because that's what I grew up in, and I was always conscious of what people was thinking. But now I'm like, it's just me and her. Like we Bonnie and Clyde. She's my
Right.
ride or die, so I ain't living for them. Now I'm not gonna go crazy and live a sinful life. No.
right,
Right.
But what that means, I'm gonna be myself, and I'm not gonna be so much conscious over what people think as opposed to what my wife thinks.
right,
Right.
She matters most to me. So what she feels, because before I'm a pastor, I'm her man.
Come
right,
on.
And that's what I want. I tell my church all the time, like, look, I'm married to her. Like a lot of people say I'm
Right.
married to my church. Nah, I ain't married to y'all.
Right.
Y'all
right,
stress me out. Y'all run my heart up. My blood pressure up. Y'all talk
Hmm.
about me. So no, I'm gonna worry about pleasing her. I'm gonna do what God has called me to do.
That's
You can either
awesome.
get with it and respect it, or as Martin would say, don't let the door hit you. What?
Well,
right.
okay, so one more question. What's the biggest fear when it comes to your relationship?
Um, for me is when Cesar and I started dating, I said I don't want to get in the way of his call. He's called to be a pastor. I don't want to get in the way of that. God sent him to me for me to be a helpmeet.
Right.
And so, being a mom and stuff, sometimes I find myself praying and checking myself constantly so that I'm not becoming what not necessarily selfish, but so self-consumed that I'm not realizing this man has emotions as well. And while he's trying to cover me and walk in his calling, he's getting drained on both sides.
Right.
That's
So
true.
I try to make sure I obviously keep my husband covered, but I don't never not want to be the help that God sent me to be
That's
to
good.
this man. So that's a fear of mine.
Yeah.
My answer would be twofold. At first, it was cheating. I thought that when I got into the relationship, I didn't want my wife to cheat on me. But God sent me the most loyal woman that I could ever know. So
Mm.
what it is now is losing her.
Oh.
Like I I can't make it as a widow. I'm gonna be honest.
Mm.
I mean, that's being funny. I find humor in everything, but
Oh,
I
me
can't.
as
Not
well.
just because I'll be stuck with 5 kids, but because I love her so much. Like I done got so comfortable. She's my friend. To not have her would literally. I don't even like sleeping in the bed alone at night.
Oh.
So
That's
for her to
good.
be gone, like when I went to Ohio for a business trip, I was struggling. I couldn't even sleep. I had a nice king size bed, room service, and all that. Couldn't even sleep good. So I don't like getting that mushy because she's looking at me now and it's making me nervous. But I'm gonna be done because I'm getting nervous. She's making me nervous. Get away from me! Don't look at me.
That's funny.
So, which brings me to the next question. I think one of the biggest things that we see now with a lot of couples, both young and old, both in the church and out of the church, is this thing called the DMs. Have you guys ever had any issues as far as people being in her inbox, people being in his inbox? Like, have you had any issues in that area?
I used to be a thirst trap. Now I'm not. She's the only one that still is. Um, it it happened at the beginning for me with a young lady from Kansas City, Kansas. Well, it happened when we first got married. There was this woman that I mean, this women in Texas is aggressive, David. When I tell you, I just got married, told the whole orientation like, look, I just got married. Everybody was happy. This girl I was trying to be a pastor to because she was in the break room crying. It got so bad she was sending me naked pictures in the DM. And she told me one day, she said, look, I just want you for one night.
Jesus. I'm like, where's your
I let
discernment?
her, but
How do you
we
know how
got
to
past that. That was
yeah.
nothing. But the second one was some ex girlfriend, a pastor's daughter from my past, that actually from Kansas City, Kansas, and it was never like that because she was married, but because she was lonely, her husband being in the military, she kind of attached to that. And I'm just having conversation, but it was still disrespectful to her.
Right.
So I had to just cut ties. But Negroes hit her up all the time. Like she curves them, but they always in her inbox. And the defense of me, I'm not jealous, but I'm territorial. I'm like a pit bull. So you in her inbox, I had to learn to like let her handle it because me, I'm like, I'm gonna check you. You know, you're not gonna disrespect me. You know what I'm saying? But
It's not so much anymore that they're.
Right.
But for me, I had to understand, like this man's heart. He has a heart for God's people,
Mm-hmm.
and broken women are attached to this man. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, I understand you ministering. I need you to use your discernment. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. To be
Yeah.
able to see this. Because you don't, I trust my husband enough to go ahead and do his thing. You don't need me to minister. Because I'm going to believe you over anything. I just
Mm-hmm.
am. That's my husband. We got that relationship. But I need you to use your discernment and understand when it's the enemy. You see. And as far as men being in my inbox, they just trying to see where they can get with me, and I'll answer them because you don't never know when somebody's struggling. So I'm at, what is your question? If you want prayer, absolutely, I'm getting ready to point you to this one.
Mm-hmm.
You need to talk. Okay, absolutely, I'll converse. but then I'm gonna point you to this one. But as far as them approaching me, saying things to me, it has happened recently. But from my past, absolutely not, because they know my character in the first place, and they know
Mm-hmm.
once I'm in love and I love a person, that there's a wall and it's impenetrable. There's nothing that they can say to me at this
Yeah.
point.
Right. Right.
Oh, they want me to pull out my 40.
Oh, if you don't be calm,
I clap in the spirit and I clap in the natural.
you crazy,
Oh my God.
crazy.
Y'all pray for me. Y'all pray for me.
So, I think one of the things is, like we said in the beginning of this video, is being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Me and my wife, we both have a relationship, sort of kind of the same way. But the thing that I love, one of the things that I love about the relationship that we have is I have nothing to hide. So she has full access to my
Yeah.
cell phone, my computer, my iPad. I mean, if she wants to answer my phone, I have no problem with that. And so, being transparent is very great. I was about to say something. I was about to ask a question, but it just left my train of thought. Um, Oh, what I was gonna say. One of the things that I love about what you said was, if somebody was to come to him, it just be use your discernment. Um,
Yeah.
are there sometimes that you see some things on people that you go and you talk to your husband about? And the same thing with you, Pastor Tez. What about you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
in a respectful way, because you know I have to. This is me in all seriousness. I have to pray my flesh away, um, and be a minister at all times. I pray God give me the strength and the wisdom to see the spirits on these people. What is happening?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need from me in this moment for this woman? Not for me to defend my husband like this is my husband. This woman trying to come over here, as many church people would say, this Jezebel. No, but what is it that this woman is needing? Why is it she coming here? And then there's times where it's just like, nope, let me move her to the side. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Just what she's a prophet. So I've learned to listen to her. It took a long time to trust that. Look, I mean, God works to this woman. I mean, not just in ministry, but even in our marriage, letting her
Right.
be my personal prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just being discerning, man, because as you know, I mean, David, in ministry, whether it's pastoring, whether it's minister of music, youth pastor, like for some reason, women they love that, like in the church, like, and it's not nothing that we're doing. It's just we're just being ourselves. But women, because they're dealing with brokenness in the world, somebody that's actually being faithful and good to their woman, they don't necessarily want to mess it up. They just want it for themselves, and they're willing to take you to get it,
well,
and
it's the
that's
power.
treacherous. You
It's
know
the
what I'm saying?
power. The power too,
Well, that too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she summed it up,
Um,
but I mean, we all are in ministry, so we know that. I mean, it's
right.
not just when it comes men to women; it's the same thing. Just men are a little bit more sly when they come to women in ministry than they like. You know, women coming to men in ministry, it's a little bit more aggressive. You know, or I'll be a mistress. You know, there was a woman I was dating from New Orleans before I met my wife, and I wasn't cool with it. She was okay with being a mistress, and I'm just like,
Ooh,
pastor had her set up in a house. This is in New Orleans.
that's
Like,
crazy.
I mean, there's some foul stuff going on in the body of
Oh,
Christ. I mean, but
oh yeah.
she
Yeah.
was cool with it, going to seminary and all. Like, so, but with men are a little bit more subtle
yeah,
when it comes to. I mean, that in my personal experience, they'll try to reach and see what a woman will give them,
it just
and that's what I noticed in her DMs is
yeah,
like
to me, at
where
the
they're
end of the
reaching.
day, it's just like I love my husband so much. I know where he's been crushed, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't ever want to see him in that place ever again. And that's just my heart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what keeps me from, David, you said something earlier, like how I got caught up with that girl in my DM was
Uh,
because my iPad was at the house. and she seen all the messages in the iPad.
He wasn't trying. It
I
wasn't
wasn't trying to
hide it.
Yeah.
It's just that he was just so. Sometimes in ministry, him being single in ministry, he's a little bit more free and friendly. So I gotta scale you back a little bit. Up, you're too friendly.
Right. Right.
I'm not too raw, y'all. You know, like I said, it's a conversation for me. So I just want to bless somebody, so I can get a little explicit at times.
No. You're fine. I love
Yeah.
everything that you're saying. Because like right now, the church body is hurting,
Yes.
and more than ever, God needs for His people to stand up and really actually show the world Him. And so, what better way to show the people God than married couples, pastor and a wife. And so you talking about the things that we're talking about tonight is helping someone,
Yes.
whether we know it or not. So my thing would be is because we are so transparent, because we're talking about the things that we're talking about. Sometimes I know for us, communication is big in our relationship.
Very big.
What would you say would be one of the things in communication that you guys lack of?
Okay, for me, it's scaling back and trying to love him in my love language, because mine is acts of service. Like, can you please just wash the dishes? I'm tired. I've been doing this and this. And his is, and I've been touched all day because I got the kids and they mama and I'm hands all over me, and that's his love language. So because I've been touched all day, I don't want to touch or be touched. But then because he's been at work all day, he wants to come home and relax. He don't want to do no dishes. So I think it's just us being intentional, loving each other, and in his love language for me, and then his and mine for me. So.
And mine is this understanding. Like I joked earlier about her anger when we used to get into it, but learning to leave her alone. Like I'm used to chasing after. You know, we're gonna talk about this. Now, like, look, I'm so comfortable, like, because I know she ain't going nowhere, so you can be mad. I'm sitting here and play this game, and when we ready to talk, I'm gonna get in the bed, and you don't have to talk to me even that night. Sometimes I do get a little bit of my feelings, because I'm like, I'll get in the bed, try to cuddle or spoon with her, and she'll turn over, like, give me the cold shoulder, like, I know you was mad at me, but I leave her alone because I know that's what, that's what she needs to get back to the right place, so.
Sorry, we love because this is
Miss
us.
Mary, you don't get a cold shoulder to David, Mary D.
Yes.
David was like, thank you for asking that.
I be like,
No. David, if I'm getting up, I'm gonna go eat some cereal. Forget this.
listen. One time I took we have this real long pillow. One time I took he went to the bathroom and it came back and the pillow was in between us. And he said, "Oh no!" He threw that pillow.
There's no unity in this bed tonight.
Nothing coming in between this.
I know that's right, but I done did it too late for my pillows over here.
That's it. I'm gonna take that, David. I'm gonna do that because she loves putting them pillows between us.
I'll turn around and put Solomon. Let me put Solomon, right?
I hate when the baby's there. I'm like, dang it. Put him in his crib.
Pastor Taz, I don't know where that pillow is today. I don't know where it is.
You burnt that pillow. Threw that in the trash. Like, this pillow is not going to come between us ever again.
Somebody said this is a treasure to find. They done found that pillow. Like, wow, this is a nice pillow.
Now, can I ask y'all a question on that? How do y'all deal with that? Because, like, I know that's a big thing, in the body of Christ and just relationships, period. Like, learning to, because we was always taught growing up by our parents and grandparents, don't let the sun go down in your anger. So, if y'all into it, tell each other y'all love y'all before we go to bed. Sometimes that may not be feasible. It's not that you don't love, but how I'm feeling, I tell my wife all the time, I love you. But I know she loves me. So how do y'all deal with that? Like, your
Just
your,
what
cir-
you said.
your circumstances. You know your stats.
Just
How you
what you
do
said. That's how I am. He'll say I love you, and I'll be like, mm-hmm. And you know, I'll turn over. He'll always take his legs and wrap it around my foot,
it? Good
and
move.
I'm like, I don't want you to touch me. And so he'll try to wrap his foot around my leg again. I say, I gotta go to the bathroom just to get away from
Excuse me.
David's persistent. He's like, when you come back, we do the same thing.
Right. look,
Hey,
look, God bless you. I bless me with you. I put a ring on it. It's mine.
Dad, oh Lord. He be like, your body is not your own. I'm like,
Love 4 Corinthians. Love it.
Man,
Dad,
So how do y'all overcome that type of stuff? Like,
go ahead.
because you know
Well,
what
I
happens.
mean, we sometimes we don't go to bed like um we don't go to sleep without saying sorry. Sometimes we don't, but sometimes we do. We have our moments where when we wake up, it's like, my thing is, you want some coffee, that's how I break the ice. I'll be like, you want some coffee? He be like, yeah. I'm like, okay, and then we just talk for the rest of the day. It's never nothing really really big,
yeah.
so yeah.
Right. A lot of times I find myself, even though I know that I've not done anything wrong.
Oh,
Hold on, let me finish.
Clear it up. Fix it. Fix it.
A lot of times I will say I'm sorry to kind of break the ice because I know at the end of the day that I love her and I love her past anything that may ever come up. So I'm the man of the house. I'm the head of the household. So I got to make sure that she feels secure enough to actually even come and talk to me and actually let me know what's going on so that she can get it out. Because a lot of times women, and I'm not a woman, I can't, sometimes speak from that, that
be
standpoint.
careful, be careful.
But but I have to reassure her that it's okay to talk to me because at the end of the day, I am a male. I'm not a woman. I can't feel what a woman feels.
Yeah,
I can only feel what a man feels. So I have to make it plain and make her understand and make her feel comfortable that she can actually talk to me.
yeah.
Amen.
I had to clear it up.
Right.
You fixed it well. You cleared
Be
it.
careful.
Y'all saw
Yeah.
how I looked at him in the beginning when he said through weight gain, and I look. Oh, he's talking about himself. He
Oh.
wasn't talking about me. All right, yeah. I'm letting him down. Leave him alone.
When he said that, I said, "No, wait."
Yeah, okay. And then I look like, oh no, he's talking about himself. I'm good. And he's right, so.
Oh,
one thing I love about David is, like, there's times, sometimes I ask him, I'm like, do this look right, or is this too tight, and I look at him like, you better answer.
The
You
right
better
way.
answer this question. And he always say, "You look good, baby. You look good." He always tell me I look good, even when I know I look in a hot mess.
Oh
And
man.
I'm the same, but she won't be. She's like, you better not be lying to me. Well, if I say that it's not, I'm dinged if I do, I'm dinged if I
But then I
don't.
find out later, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that one's much better than the one you were."
Well, I mean, that was
Wait a
good, but this is
minute.
better.
that's me.
You gonna wait 2 weeks later to tell me
Right.
that?
After I won.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even trust what you about to say. Anaya, does this look okay?
Yes. He be like, "That look good." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna get this one. I'll pick the other thing that I like."
Yeah,
No,
that's
but
And
funny.
she'll know, I'll be like, when something I really don't like, I'll be like, it's cool.
Yeah, that part. I'm
It's all
like,
right, it's cool here.
yeah, never mind. I ain't wearing this.
right.
But see me, I'm very very blunt. So if you ask me something, I'm just gonna be straight out with it. And he be like, "Well, you didn't have to say it like that." And I'm like, "Well, listen, I'm just gonna cut the tape. I'm not about to sit up here and beat around the bush."
Right.
She'll hurt my feelings sometimes because I be going out looking like a great. Because when I'm going, I do basketball stuff. So sometimes I put on some high socks. I wear some short shorts because I don't care. I know I can dress. So sometimes I don't care. She'll be like, "You're not about to wear that to the store, are you?" I'm like, dang, like, is it that bad?
Take that off.
Right.
Thanks.
Oh my god.
Man. So you
Oh my god.
wow. So my thing is we we're just like that. There's been times where I tell my wife this too. I tell her I can't I'm not going to tell you that something doesn't look right on you or you look bad in this because what you wear, how you do your hair, how you dress is an reflection of how you feel. So if you're feeling a certain way, I know you're going to dress a certain way. So I always like, baby, hey, if you love it, if you like it, I love it.
No.
Go ahead and knock it out, wear
And
it.
that lets me
And
know, don't wear it.
hey,
Right.
and something, but you're right, David. And I'll say this on the good side of it. Like certain things I know she wearing, it's about to go down tonight.
Right.
Like real talk, we ain't going to church tonight. We're going to the bedroom. Like when I get done with this date, I'm at the date looking like, look, I don't even care about this dinner right now because I want to eat food. You know what I'm saying?
But you can tell because there's a different way that he looked at me, and I'm like, oh, I must not look like a mother right now. So,
No, you look like. I'm not gonna say what you look like, but you know what you look like.
Right.
That is so funny. Oh my god.
All right. So in this pandemic, what's one of the things that you guys have done, not only to just bring you guys closer in your relationship with each other, but with your kids as well?
And with God.
Yeah, yeah, and with God.
God.
Woo. It's just I'm able to see my kids. For me, I like things a certain way. I'm a person of routine, and with the kids home, it kind of threw my whole routine off a lot of it. But I started to see my kids like I started to understand them a little bit better because, for one, I wanted to, and for two, it's my job, it's my duty. So I asked them a lot of questions. I got to ask Tazar's a lot of questions. He had to go to work though, so hmm so I kind of was able to shed light on some of the kids and how they were thinking to him. We would have a lot of in-depth conversation about the kids. We have had a lot of in-depth conversation about the kids over the last 3 months or so. And then with God, it's just that he had to show me you don't have to sit here and necessarily always get that quiet time. Now I need you to take your portion that you have and begin to pour it onto your children in another way. I need you to step outside of yourself and begin to minister to your kids because not only is this a turbulent time for you, but it's a turbulent time for your kids. And they're unsure right now because they weren't with me 8 hours of the day or 6 hours of the day. They were at school. So I had to scale back on even cleaning and stuff like that. Or, oh, y'all kids home, y'all gonna clean the house. Y'all gonna do this. I left them alone and let them be,
Right.
in this time. And then I got to start to see how they will respond. Because then my oldest would just get up and she would clean up and she would do her homework. That girl got straight A's at the end of the semester. And then my other kids, their teachers commented on their report cards and commented to them during the online learning and said how well they were doing because they were at home and out of chaos. So I thank God for allowing me to be peace to my kids during this time. But it was definitely something I had to ask God to do. So
Mine was just cultivating an identity outside of ministry. Because I think, being in church my whole life, that's all I know how to do it. And I enjoy doing it. So, things like starting this dog business. This is the shirt I'm wearing, Anubis K9. And even starting my kids' AAU team, spending a lot of time with my son. I was coaching the sports already, but being able to do personal individual workouts with them and just getting that time with all the kids. Like my wife even got out there and was playing basketball with us. She got a little jumper on her. So things like that, like I found out. So, but just cultivating identity outside of ministry, because I never want, because we always hear the saying that preachers or pastors' kids are the worst. And that's my prayer every day, that my kids live past that stigma. And part of that is not putting my hand on their neck, letting them live life. Like my oldest daughter this past year had a boyfriend. I mean, had a boyfriend. um, had a boyfriend, and the dad in me was like, "You're not dating at all. You're not blah blah blah." But I left her alone because I don't want her to have to feel. Because what happens is they'll get older and go buck wild. So I want my kids to know you got all the time in the world to come help me and your mom do ministry. I let them know that even now, when they get to high school and college age. Y'all got all the time in the world. Live your life, because I don't want you to have to feel or run away from the church as if it's a pest, as opposed to something being a blessing to your life. So this just gave me a chance to really feel myself outside of the church. So.
And being home even with the boyfriend situation, of course, it's just at school, but being open, I didn't have to probe her. Things began to pour out of her, feelings and emotions, because we allowed her that freedom to be able to talk. So she made decisions, very mature decisions, that I know some women have not made as far as relationships are concerned. If it doesn't benefit me in the right way, then I have to cut it off. And I watch her make those decisions because of the openness that her dad and I have with her. And she's a good kid, so we don't want to press her. All our children are great, but we try to keep those communication. No, yeah, they're bad, but we try to keep those communication lines open and let them know that we their parents first.
Right.
That's right. That's good.
Romeo, you said